Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being today with us. I am Eva Prada, the Managing Director of the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain, and it is my pleasure to open the webinar today to talk about the investment opportunities in Northern Ireland. I'd like to start with the first speaker, who is Susana Rodriguez. Susana Rodriguez is the Director of the Consulting Division at Savills Aguirre Newman, a very well-known British real estate brand. Susana Rodriguez is also the Vice President of the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain, but in the region of Madrid. And she's going to make the introduction to today's webinar. Welcome, Susana.
Thank you, Eva, and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks to all the speakers who kindly accepted our invitation and the represented institutions. A special mention to the British Ambassador, Hugh Elliott, and the representative of Invest Northern Ireland, the co-organizers of this event, Steve Harper and Emma Naismith. Just to tell you a little bit about the British Chamber that has existed for over 100 years. We are a private business association whose mission is to promote business relationships between Spain and the UK and to represent the interests of our 300 members. Each year, we publish a barometer of British investment in Spain. This year's report, the sixth that we have published, revealed that the UK is the second biggest global investor in Spain, with more than 1 billion euros invested just in the first half of 2020. This means that British companies are responsible for maintaining more than 235,000 jobs in our country. And we must also remember that bilateral trade between the two countries represents more than 56 billion euros. The aim of the British Chamber is not only to help British companies investing in Spain, but also to promote the UK to Spanish companies. A commitment to the bilateral relationship between our two countries so that it remains as strong as ever, and that the new trading relationship brought about by the exit from the European Union has as little impact as possible. We are here today to know more about Northern Ireland. It is an ideal destination for foreign investment, a region of the United Kingdom that is growing and that facilitates investment with ambitious projects such as the one we are presenting today to Spanish companies. Before we begin, please allow me to remind everybody to mute their microphones throughout the conference. You can submit all of your questions through the chat, and if any questions remained unanswered, we will respond to them after the session. Now, welcome everybody, and I will hand over to Eva Prada, General Director of the British Chamber in Spain.
Thank you, Susana. My role today is going to be passing the floor to all the speakers, and we have the honor of giving the floor to the British Ambassador Hugh Elliott. Hugh Elliott is Ambassador to Spain and Andorra since August 2019. He joined the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in 1989. He's a specialist in the European Union and the Hispanic world. He has served in a variety of roles in London and British embassies in countries like Spain, Argentina, and France. He has also worked 7 years in the private world as head of government relations at Anglo American, a global mining company. Hugh returned to the FCO in 2013 to take up the position of Director of Communication, responsible for the FCO's internal and external communications and public diplomacy work. Before coming to Spain, he was the Director of Communications and Stakeholders at the Department for Exiting the European Union. Hugh is also the Honorary President of the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain, our organization. We work very closely with him and his different teams at the embassy in Madrid to represent both the interest of our member companies and to build bridges to maintain and increase the trade and investment relations between Spain and today, and between Spain and the UK, and today with Northern Ireland. Hugh, very welcome.
Thank you very much, Eva, and it's very good to be with you all this morning. Thank you for joining. A big thank you to the Chamber, as always, for the excellent collaboration that we have with you. So thank you, Eva. Thank you, Susanna. And also big thank you, of course, to Invest Northern Ireland and for all the work put into this, in particular, and obviously in our own team here in really important part of our Spain network, Emma Naismith. So Emma, thank you very much for all your work in putting this together. Now, so as we were just saying before, I mean, I join you. The weather has gone sort of patas arriba, as they say in Spain. It's just turned it on its head. I'm looking out of the embassy in Madrid. Is, those of you who don't know, is in a tower block at the tower block. That's a skyscraper. I'm on the 41st floor. And if I had the backdrop of the view from my window here, you would see absolutely nothing because we're in the clouds. So this one's rather nicer. And in fact, this is, for me, unfortunately, I personally have not been able to get to Northern Ireland since I started in this job for fairly obvious reasons. We've all been stuck and not been able to get around. But when I was last in Belfast, not that long before taking up this job, I was just bowled over by how fantastic and dynamic a place it was. And I think a lot of the companies here know this because you're involved, you're active, and you know the situation on the ground probably much better than I do. But I just wanted to say, by way of introduction, that Northern Ireland is often in the news in Spain, elsewhere, for the wrong reasons, because of, and I've spent a lot of my recent life, as Eva was reminding us, with the whole Brexit issue. I just wanted to say, first of all, that it's completely clear that both the UK and the European Union are absolutely determined to continue to collaborate to find a way through to make sure we implement the Northern Ireland Protocol. We continue to provide brilliant conditions for doing business in Northern Ireland. I mean, that's an absolutely firm commitment. It's tricky, as we all know, but the determination there is completely clear on all sides. And I don't really see that wavering as I look at this over time. With all the sort of little bits and pieces and glitches that we have, which I don't want to sort of pretend don't exist. Of course they do. Of course there are issues. But I wanted to really say to you that there is a clear political determination to work through them and to make sure that Northern Ireland continues to be the fantastic destination for investment and the fantastic place to do business that it already is. And Emma gave me a couple of stats, which you probably all know, but I think that, the fact that there has been such a lot of investment, such a huge growth over the last 20 years, the fact that you've got investment commitments for the Northern Ireland government and from the UK government, of more than €1.5 billion coming up through the recent announcements on city deals. Weavers Cross and other developments, we're going to hear about more. Some of you are already actively involved in these projects, and so the opportunities for yourselves. I just wanted to say I very much hope that this event continues to support the investments and the activity, the extensive activity that Spanish companies already have in Northern Ireland. I hope that it will allow you to make some new connections, to help those deals to prosper and help deliver some new connections and new ideas for new opportunities, because there are lots of opportunities in Northern Ireland. And so I'm really, really glad that you've got a little moment to talk about them, investigate them and hear about them right now. So good luck for the rest of the seminar. I can't stay with you for all of it, unfortunately. I'll hang around for as long as I can. But once again, thanks for the organisers, and I hope you have a very interesting discussion.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, and thank you for staying as long as your diary today permits. And yes, I do endorse the ambassador's words that today is a great opportunity to get to know better a part of the United Kingdom that is probably not as well known as others. But today we will prove how close it is to us and how many opportunities there are. And this is where I'm going to give to open the event, in which we're going to have 5 very interesting speakers from different organizations at Northern Ireland, like Steve Harper, Executive Director, International Business at Invest Northern Ireland, Simon Hamilton, Chief Executive at Belfast Chamber of Trade and Commerce, Len McComb, Project Director at Weavers Cross, John McGuckian, Partner at Tugans, and Kerry Beggs, Head of Contact Centres at Santander UK. And I hear that we're now going to be listening to a very interesting introduction by video. Pablo? I think an image speaks more than 1,000 words, as we say in the Spanish phrase. And thank you very much for this introductory video. And I'd like to pass the floor to the first speaker, Steve Harper, Executive Director of International Business at Invest in Northern Ireland. Very welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much, Eva. It's lovely to be here and to have an opportunity to talk to all of you today. I wanted to just spend a few minutes explaining a little bit about Northern Ireland and a little bit about what Invest Northern Ireland does and how Invest Northern Ireland may be able to help you if you're looking to either trade with or invest in Northern Ireland. So Invest Northern Ireland, we are the regional business development agency, and our role, we're an arm's length body of the Department of the Economy, and our role is really to grow the Northern Irish economy. And we do that through 3 major initiatives. The first is attracting inward investment into Northern Ireland. The second then is to get our companies here in Northern Ireland to export and sell their products around the world and bring external money into our economy. And the third is to really stimulate and drive innovation in our economy. And so we take a very active role with businesses in Northern Ireland and co-invest with them in research and development and innovation and skills and training to really grow our economy. Northern Ireland is, as the ambassador said, a place that has changed massively over the course of the last 10 or 15 years. The wonderful pictures that you will see later on from some of my colleagues and presenters on here will show you a Belfast that has completely transformed over that period of time. Very vibrant place. As the Regional Development Agency, we have brought in and assisted almost 99 new investors to come into Northern Ireland over the course of the last 5 years, creating 6,000 very well high-paying jobs in Northern Ireland, which is really stimulating our economy. For those of you that don't know, Northern Ireland continues to rank as the leading investment destination for software development, cybersecurity and fintech. And we have major US multinationals here in Northern Ireland, like Microsoft, Allstate, who have recently celebrated their 20th anniversary in Northern Ireland, Aflac and Seagate. We are a very small region in the United Kingdom. We have a population of 1.8 million people, but companies both large and small look to come and set up here in Northern Ireland. And why is that? Why do you come to a very small place that's 1.8 million people? Well, it comes down to our people and comes down to the talent. We have a very talented workforce here in Northern Ireland, and we have some fantastic government support to ensure that companies get the talent that they are looking for. We're also extremely competitively cost competitive. And when we look at our close relations 100 miles down the road in the Republic of Ireland, we are almost 30 to 40% more cost effective in Northern Ireland. We are an extremely business friendly place. Being a small place of 1.8 million people, it is really easy to be joined up through our government, industry and academia, and we can turn our talent pipelines on and off to suit those investors that are coming in. We have one of Europe's youngest populations, with 53% of our population under the age of 40. So really fast, vibrant, growing population that we have. And that young population consistently outperforms our nearest competitors and ranks highest in the United Kingdom in terms of 16 and 18, their exam results. And we have the highest proportion of our young people go on to third level education. So that creates a great environment for companies to come and set up. And I think a very telling statistic is that those companies who come to Northern Ireland to set up, almost 3/4 of them go on to reinvest and build. And I think that's a testament to what they see. In terms of the investment and job creation that comes into Northern Ireland, there are three main sectors that they come to set up for. Our digital creative, and we have a very, very lively cybersecurity cluster in Northern Ireland. In fact, Belfast is the #1 destination in the world for US cybersecurity companies to come and set up. And that cluster effect is driving more and more. Microsoft have recently come and set up a brand new cybersecurity center in the city. And we have US companies such as Imperva, Signified, and Black Duck, who are now owned by Synopsys, who have set up in the city. We also have a very fast-growing legal services sector. And we have the world's biggest law firm in Baker McKenzie, who are now employing almost 500 people right in the middle of town on the waterfront. And I guess we have had a very tough year, as the world has had over the pandemic. But between March and September of 2020, we announced support for almost 1,500 new jobs being created by local companies and international companies, which actually was up 26% on the same period the previous year before. So despite the pause that the economy went through in April and May, companies in Northern Ireland were extremely resilient, and we've just closed our financial year, and we've had a very strong year in terms of job creation and new investors coming in. And saying all of that, I would be remiss to not say we have relatively few investments from Spain, and this is something we'd really like to rectify. And to be able to have an opportunity to present Northern Ireland today is really good for us. We have 15 Spanish companies from Spain in Northern Ireland, employing about 2,200 people. And we would love that to be much more. And we will be working over the next couple of years to try and do that. When I turn then to exports and trade, obviously as I said, we're a small place. We sell about £17 billion each year of products and services outside of Northern Ireland. And that is split actually quite evenly in terms of half of that will go to England, Scotland and Wales. And then the other half of that goes outside of that. 4.3 billion to the rest of the world and about 4 billion to the EU. So we're quite evenly split. When in preparing for today, I was digging out the stats for Spain. And our exports to Spain have probably been pretty flat, if I'm honest to say. We currently, Northern Irish companies currently export about 121 million of goods and services to Spain, which represents just over 1.5% of our exports. And again, something that we would really like to see if we can improve. We have, however, had a recent number of increasing inquiries in terms of Spanish companies looking to import Northern Irish food and beverage to replace some of the other UK suppliers and take advantages of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which allows companies in Northern Ireland to continue to trade with the rest of the EU. And it's really good to see some of those Northern Irish companies winning that business. I guess some nice linkages. You'll have seen some of them on the video presentation at the start. Just a couple of little anecdotes, I guess. StatSports, who are one of our leading sports technology companies, and if you follow La Liga or the Premier League, you will see the little units that are on the back of the players' shirts for tracking. They are selling and working with Atletico Bilbao and Osasuna, as well as the Spanish Federation's blind team as well. So really companies starting to get in there. One of our largest indigenous software companies, Nueda, has a software development center in Malaga, and it's really good to see those linkages through there as well. And obviously Navantia has a strategic relationship with, for those of you who have been to Belfast and will see the cranes, will know of Harland and Wolff, and they work very well together. In terms of, I'll not steal some of my colleagues' thunders, and you'll see some nice pictures of some of the great office accommodation that is available throughout Belfast. And we are starting to see an increase in investment into real estate in Northern Ireland from overseas investors. Traditionally, the investors from outside of the United Kingdom have tended to look in London and the southeast for property development and investment. But we're starting to see certainly a little bit more worldwide interest in Northern Ireland. And PwC, who have a very nice new building right in the middle of town, that building has recently been sold to a Saudi Arabian investor, which is great to see that money coming in. I guess just to finish off, I wanted to touch a little bit on what the ambassador talked about, and to talk about the trade and cooperation agreement between the UK and the EU, and specifically how Northern Ireland fits into that. We believe in Northern Ireland that we have got something very unique at the moment, and that is the unique 2-for-1 market access. So companies that are manufacturing goods in Northern Ireland continue to have the same access to EU markets that they previously had prior to the UK leaving the EU, but they also continue to have that unfettered access into the GB marketplace. And that's a really exciting time, I think, for Northern Ireland and for companies who are looking to come and invest and access the UK market. What better place than Northern Ireland to do that, where you don't have any customs checks, any process checks, no customs borders between Northern Ireland and the EU, and the same across into the rest of the UK. Obviously in Northern Ireland, as part of that protocol, Northern Irish companies will continue to follow EU regulations in terms of regulatory alignment for goods and services. And so companies will continue to have CE marking on their products to allow them to access the UK, to access the EU marketplace. But unlike other regions of the EU, CE marking will be accepted in the UK. A company maybe that is based in France and seeking to sell its products into GB will need to go through a whole new certification process, but those companies in Northern Ireland will still continue to have that access. So that's a little bit of a flavour of Northern Ireland. I'm sorry I have no presentation or pictures, but I know that there are some fantastic images coming through now. I'm happy to hand back to you, Eva.
Steve, many thanks. I can assure you that we will be delighted to work closely to Emma Naismith, who is the delegate at the British Embassy in Madrid, and with yourselves back in Belfast, to make sure that we can help and contribute to increase those exports from Northern Ireland to Spain. And thank you very much for clarifying the special condition of Northern Ireland within the EU, which I think is very important to remind. And now I'd like to welcome Simon Hamilton, Chief Executive at Belfast Chamber of Trade and Commerce, who's going to tell us how Belfast is contributing to building back better.
Good morning, Eva. Buenos dias a todos. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here this morning and to join you all. Thank you for the invitation to do so. My name is, as Eva has said, Simon Hamilton. I'm the Chief Executive of Belfast Chamber. We're a business organisation based in Belfast, our capital and biggest city in Northern Ireland. We represent over 700 businesses of all sizes and from all sectors and from all parts of our city. And it's my job today to outline what a young, vibrant, dynamic city Belfast is. Now, this is not an up-to-date picture. We have advanced somewhat since this scene, and this is a mural which appears in Belfast City Hall. It depicts a scene in the city in 1613 when King James I issued a charter, a royal charter, which first established Belfast as a city. It is, as you will see, hopefully over the course of the next 10 minutes, changed somewhat since those days. But what you can see in that picture is that it was always a city of industry and trade. To the right of the mural, you will see shipbuilding, something which Belfast has a renowned international worldwide reputation for. And you've also can see linen and agriculture, some of those founding industries that helped make Belfast a great and major city down through the years. It is a vibrant and a dynamic and a young city, and I think a lot of people doing my sort of job will probably try to persuade you that their city is also vibrant and dynamic. But I think in our case in Belfast, we're more than justified in saying that. And I'm not going to run through all of the statistics on screen, some of which Steve has already outlined, but that does, I think, show that it is a young city, one of the youngest in Europe. It is a well-educated city. It is one of the best it is the best performing region in the UK for GCSEs, which are our UK's sort of standard secondary education examination. It is a smart city. It is a city which is booming and growing, and particularly in the tech sector, which is something which I'll elaborate on later. I think an image which ties everything today nicely together is this showing that it is a young city, a smart city, a tech-focused city. This is our new Ulster University campus, which is a few months away from opening. It's right in the heart of Belfast city centre. This is at one end, the northern end of the main thoroughfare that runs through the centre of Belfast. It's a £250 million project, 75,000 square metres of educational accommodation, which will be home, hopefully in September, to 15,000 staff and students. And it has a Spanish connection, so hence why I like it as an image for this event. Sahir, which Spanish construction company, are involved in building this new university campus, which we're all very excited about. It is a huge driver for regeneration in and around that part of Belfast city centre. We're very much looking forward to it opening. Another major driver, it was mentioned by the ambassador in his remarks, is the Belfast Region City Deal. And as you can see, it's nearly £1 billion worth of investment coming from a range of different partners, including the UK government, the Northern Ireland government, Belfast City Council and the private sector. It's one of several across the UK, but it's the first in Northern Ireland, and we're hopeful that it will add 20,000 new jobs to our city and nearly £500 million worth of growth in the economy annually. It's built around 4 themes: innovation, infrastructure, tourism, and employability and skills. And some of the highlights are a Belfast Stories destination hub, which we see as another major international tourism destination of scale, telling the history and the unique history and stories of that make up Belfast and its people. It will have a second phase of our glider rapid transit program, and also several innovation centres, including ones on digital healthcare and advanced manufacturing and screen and media, some of those sectors which Belfast and Northern Ireland are world class at. All of that is, I suppose, stimulating a bit of a real estate boom in Belfast. These are some of the images of plans which of schemes which have planning permission but haven't started yet. So top left is a development called The Sixth, which is a joint venture between a local property company and Belfast City Council. It's on the site of the old former headquarters of the Belfast Telegraph, our biggest local newspaper. It's 30,000 square metres of a mixed-use scheme. To the right is a scheme called Tribeca Belfast. It is 12 acres, 1.5 metres square foot of residential, office, retail and leisure space. It's a quite a key site as it provides a link between the traditional city core and that new university campus that I highlighted earlier. Bottom right is a scheme called Belfast Waterside, which will be on the location of an old engineering works close to the city centre. It has been designed by Henning Larsen, a leading Copenhagen-based architectural firm, and it is a £450 million development on 16 acres and will have about 80,000 square feet of office accommodation and about 700 apartments. And bottom left is Smithfield Yard, around 170,000 square feet of mixed use space, which is again very close to that new university campus. So there are lots of, these are just some, there are lots of schemes like this in the pipeline in Belfast. Some are also on site at the moment. These are, Belfast has been trying to quite successfully to reconnect to its river. Like a lot of cities, we turned away from our river for a number of years, but we're rediscovering it and reconnecting to it. So on the left of the screen is a scheme called City Quays, which Belfast Harbour are taking forward as a regeneration project. It is home to many of those companies that Steve mentioned, including Baker McKenzie. The tower block that's a drawing of it. It's about half completed at this moment in time, and it's a £275 million scheme overall. And to the right is a new office block called Olympic House, which is being developed in Titanic Quarter. Titanic Quarter is a huge area in the site of the large part of the old Harland and Wolff shipyard. It's one of Europe's largest urban waterfront regeneration projects. It covers 185 acres, and investment to date has been around £500 million and includes Titanic Belfast, our iconic tourism destination, which was behind the ambassador when he was speaking. And Steve mentioned that there's a lot of office development and regeneration going on in Belfast, and this is one that has actually happened. It's real. It's about to be occupied, and it's the PwC Merchant Square scheme. So this is PwC's largest regional office in the UK outside of London. It has been sold recently to a Saudi Arabian investor for £87 million, and it's just it's about 200 metres from the front door of Belfast City Hall, so it's right in the heart of our growing city centre. And the reason all of those investments are happening, the reason that I suspect that Saudi Arabian property firm came to Belfast and bought that building is highlighted by the data there on the screen from the Northern Ireland Commercial Property Investment Review, and that's from 2019. So there are very, very good, very competitive returns on investment in office accommodation in Belfast. This picture is one that I think nicely summarizes, one of my favourite pictures of Belfast, nicely summarises, I think, what is happening in our city, and that traditional industries with the shipyard and the Harland and Wolff cranes in the background. You can also see the Mourne Mountains, the beautiful Mourne Mountains just in the distance, which shows that whilst Belfast is a big urban metropolitan area, we're not that far from the coast, we're not that far from the countryside either, and there's a great quality of life as a result of that. But as well as showing that old industrial heritage, this is also really, really symbolic of that new modern economy that Belfast is building. The buildings in the foreground to the front of the picture are part of the Northern Ireland Science Park, Catalyst Inc. as it's called. That is home to many tech startups and growing Indigenous and FDI firms, and they sit right beside, and it's symbolic, I think, that they sit in that new engineering, that technological engineering sector. They're sitting beside the Thompson Dry Dock to the right-hand side, where the Titanic, the famous Titanic liner, was fitted out before it went on its ill-fated voyage. But those buildings and the CSIT Cybersecurity Research Centre is within those buildings are symbolic of that new economy that Belfast is building. And it's not just tech. Screen and creative industries are also burgeoning in Belfast as well. And a little behind those buildings, between those cranes, was and just actually slightly out of shot, there is a major film studio, which is in an old paint hall in the shipyard. And you can't see it in that picture, but they're King's Landing. Any Game of Thrones fans would know of King's Landing and what happened to it in the final series of that famous show. And it was on that site in the shipyard was where the set for King's Landing was built. Just in the time that's left of me, I just want to, Steve has already mentioned some of those FDIs that are making Belfast their home. There are some of the big brands that are in Belfast and that are occupying that office accommodation. So that's why there is a huge demand for that type of real estate development. More jobs and more students and more people is also creating a demand for more city centre living. It is something that Belfast traditionally has not been perhaps as good at in terms of, we've had quite a low level of a city centre population. There is a big emphasis on that city centre, growing that city centre population. City Council has a ambitious vision for increasing the city centre's population by 30,000 over the next 15 years. And there are some schemes that are coming forward. That's a few images of some of the schemes that are coming forward. The one on the left it's called the Grattan. It's a £45 million, 250 unit scheme in the heart of the city centre. The one on the right is in that Titanic Quarter district. There's about 800 apartments planned for that location right on the riverfront. So just in conclusion, Belfast is a small but perfectly positioned city. We're 1 hour away from London on a flight. We're an hour and a half's drive to Dublin. There are nearly 550 direct UK flights every week. We sit on that key Belfast-Dublin economic corridor, which is something that we are exploring the full opportunities of. And as Steve has outlined, we are uniquely positioned within the UK, but also with access to the EU single market. So Belfast is a city in which is experiencing a rebirth. There's a new dawn in Belfast, which has been growing over the last number of years. It is a city that is being reborn before our eyes. We're at the early stages still of a regeneration journey, and that type of journey creates significant opportunities. And I believe that there are huge opportunities for Spanish businesses in Belfast. And if you are interested in Belfast and you want to invest in Belfast or look at investing in Belfast, with Belfast Chamber, along with our partners Invest in I and Belfast City Council and our universities, will be only too happy to help introduce you to Belfast and what it has and what it could potentially deliver for you and your business. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you this morning, and I hope that that was useful, and I look forward to the questions later. Thank you.
Simon, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this videos and photographs that you've shown of this regeneration journey. Certainly Belfast is changing a lot and there are lots of opportunities. Looking forward to having a discussion after this webinar to see how we can do more together. And now I'd like to pass the floor to the next speaker, who is going to be Len McCann, Project Director at Weavers Cross. He's going to tell us about the opportunities of this new project in the centre of Belfast. Very welcome, Len.
Thank you very much, Eva. It's really great to be given the opportunity here to speak to you here. I'm just hoping, can you see the presentation on the screen there all right? Perfectly. That's really great. So look, really welcome the opportunity here to speak to the Chamber here. We've been working very closely here the last number of years with Invest in I and indeed the Department of International Trade here on the opportunities at Weavers Cross and indeed Translink here. So look, we've got a short presentation here. I've also got my colleague here, Gemma Thompson, on the line here as the branding and marketing manager for Weavers Cross. If there's any further details afterwards there, we're very happy to give them to you there. So ultimately, we've talked quite a bit there. Simon's talked quite a bit about the real estate opportunities in Belfast and Northern Ireland. Fundamentally, Weavers Cross is a transport-led regeneration project. I suppose, Simon, it's fair to say that it's probably the one area of the city here that in terms of in terms of the transport here, that the present station is probably not what we'd like to see for a new city. I The work is underway in that transport hub. If anybody's driving up the Grosvenor Road at the moment, they can see that underway. So that's really great. Flagship project for the executive. I don't know whether, Simon, that was in your time, but certainly it's underway. It's heavily backed. And what that has done is put a considerable amount of public money into a regeneration scheme that lets us develop around that. So like, and in line with that as well, I suppose, in terms of Translink here, traditionally, I suppose, public transport maybe wasn't so commonly used in Northern Ireland, but over the recent years, there's been incredible growth in that, especially with, in terms of the glider service, that obviously has been hugely successful going east to west. And I know that, Simon, it's a key part of the city deal here to start going north to south here. So like, it's a key part of what we're doing. I suppose in terms of Translink, some of you probably won't know who Translink are, but fundamentally, I suppose Translink run and operate both the rail network and the bus services in Northern Ireland. So slightly unique that they actually own the track and they actually run the rail services here. So one of the major employers in Northern Ireland, 4,000 staff, probably support a lot more of that in the wider industry here. 13,000 services each day, 300,000 passenger journeys. We've got 1,400 buses and trains, and so there's a considerable amount of track, 80 bus and rail halts, and obviously the rail asset itself is worth about £3 billion, and it covers 300 miles of track. And I suppose it's interesting in some ways. I know we've talked about maybe not that much Spanish investment in Northern Ireland, but in terms of Translink, there's actually been a considerable amount of work with Spanish companies over the last lot of years. We've been working with CAF, Spain, since 2000, so there's been a lot of work done with them. The present photograph there shows the latest CAF carriages that were just brought to site there probably last month. That's Nicola Mallon, the Minister for the Department for Infrastructure, and also Chris Conway, the CEO of Translink. There's an ongoing CAF parts and maintenance contract. And also, if you just look at the buses there on the left there's been most of our Ulster bus fleet has actually been built by Spanish suppliers. So historically, Irizar, Scania, actually, and also I think we're recently Sons Deker. I may not have actually pronounced them right, but there's been ongoing Spanish work over a lot of years here. The present contracts are worth about 90 million that are underway, and I'll talk about some of the newer opportunities that are coming up very shortly here as well. So look, just to get to Weaver's Cross here, as we talked about, classic transport-led regeneration project. Well, what you have obviously is that a major transport hub in the centre of the city. What that does do is, and I suppose I will say this in comparison to other development opportunities, it creates a footfall around the development that is available. So you're talking here maybe 20 million passenger journeys going in and out of the new transport hub, and that obviously creates a great dynamic for people to work and live around that. It's going to be transformational for Belfast City and Northern Ireland. I know there's a lot of talk about Northern Ireland communities and neighbourhoods, but we have worked very closely with them here, and they're very supportive of the scheme. And we work very closely with both West Belfast and South Belfast communities here, very supportive. A lot of new jobs come on because of that here, and they've been very supportive. I suppose the other thing that's unique about Weaver's Cross is the fact that we're going to have the main Dublin train coming into it. If you just have a look at the general rail network here, we're able to go from Derry, Londonderry, Belfast, Dublin, Cork. We sit at the centre of that there. We're going to have direct rail links to Dublin, and we've direct links to all the major airports. So again, for any business coming to locate here, very easily to get to the airports here and to be able to link both to Dublin and to Belfast here to do work here. So it's a key part of what we have got. In terms of where we sit in the city, if you just have a look here, I think hopefully you can see the large green area there. That is actually Weaver's Cross. you can see the city centre here is right. That's the City Hall there. So we're only a 5-minute walk to the City Hall. And I think as well for businesses thinking about locating here, we sit roughly equidistant between the two main universities. And I know that Simon has talked about the new University of Ulster there, but we also have Queen's, probably equidistant. We're sitting directly between them. And we've also got the two main hospitals in Belfast City and the Royal, and we're sitting very close to those as well. So we've termed this phrase, it may be a branding phrase, aids and meds, but obviously in terms of businesses going forward, there's a considerable amount of startups have come out of Queen's and the Ulster University. And I think going forward here, you'll see more and more startups coming out of both hospitals in terms of working for pharmaceutical companies there, and you need to see it here in terms of manufacturing new vaccines and things like that. So look, we believe we're in a unique location here to attract people to Weaver's Cross here. There's a lot of work in other, lots of other cities have already had their new transport hub. There you've got King's Cross here. We've actually got the same architects as King's Cross, John McCaslin Partners. You've got Sheffield, and you've got Manchester Piccadilly. I think it's fair to say that all of these schemes have been transformational on the cities that they've been in there, and that they've all, they've been able to work very well because people fundamentally have been able to get off a train and walk straight to their office, and that's created a unique opportunity there. In terms of the transport hub, it's actually underway on site at the moment. We've talked about that. It's an over £200 million investment, and that's being publicly funded. So I suppose we're somewhat unique in some ways in that the main catalyst is publicly funded. In terms of the investors or developers, these sites are relatively like service sites. They don't require huge amounts of expensive infrastructure to actually let them be developed here. So we think it's a unique opportunity here. Right beside, you can see that happens to be the bus side of it there, but the other side will be the rail. The new transport hub itself here, so we're talking here 20 million passenger movements, a 50% increase, bus stands and rail platforms. And I think everybody's aware here that with COVID, obviously public passenger use, has went down, but we believe that that will come back in the future. And if anything, that it'll start to grow again, because traditionally in Northern Ireland, there's been a relatively low use of public transport, but that has been growing recently. 300 cycle parking, a key part of this will be a sustainable development. And of course, we've got the Belfast Dublin train here, which is going to go directly into Weaver's Cross. These are some more views of it here, and again, it's a transformational building here. It's going to look, the Grosvenor Road traditionally it's a gateway to Belfast, but it's probably not the most beautiful gateway, and I think that this will be totally transformational. Just to give you an idea of what this is going to look like inside here, it's going to be, even that is going to be 4 or 5 stories, massive building. Again, Dublin train, we're looking to bring that right in to the city. A lot of businesses have talked about that, and there's work underway as well here. I'm sure Simon and Steve are aware of this, to look at that connection to Dublin being quicker and more frequent, and a lot of businesses have talked about that. And I think that work's underway in the North-South Ministerial Conference. Master plan, to just give you an idea, over 1 million square feet here of development space to work and live in. Ideally, in some ways, that we have the opportunity here for large floor plates, some 10,000 square feet, which suits some of the business coming in, but also we have the ability here to scale up. Flexible space here is available, and the ability for businesses to grow with Weaver's Cross in terms of, as they scale up, that there'll be more opportunities for prime development space in the area. So one of the opportunities that does exist here at the moment is we're going out to procurement very shortly here for a private sector development partner, and that private sector development partner will, with Translink, develop this land over the next 15 to 20 years. You're talking here 1.3 million square feet of development space, around 400 million gross development value, and right at the heart of this is the transport hub. So We're hoping to commence procurement for that early June. We've already done quite a bit of soft market testing, and we've had a market day. A lot of developer interest in it, again, because of their experience around other transport-led regeneration schemes. Just give you an idea here of what it might be, where we're trying to sort of bring the city out to Weavers Cross so that we're actually connecting right back in there. It's a key part of what we're looking to do here, and I think that we've done that quite successfully, looking to work with other departments here in terms of the streetscape, streets ahead. Again, working very closely with the communities. I know at times here that people hear some bad publicity about what's maybe happening in Belfast, but we can say that we've got a huge support from the communities around us. We're already employing a considerable number of people on the site, and over the next 15 to 20 years, that will be ongoing. So look, we are looking to support here very closely the new Belfast here that we've talked about here. We're very supportive of the Belfast agenda here, making this a new sort of quarter in the city that people will look to work, live and invest. We're working closely with all the partners here. We believe we've got a unique opportunity here in terms of going forward, in terms of where we sit, and that, you know, that will be ongoing. In terms of the investment priority, so like we have been, you know, Translink, as I've said, have done quite a lot of business over the last lot of years here with Spanish companies. There's going to be a number of new investment opportunities coming forward. A lot of those are to do with the decarbonisation of the fleet here. Translink here have committed themselves to be a net zero carbon by 2050. What that has done here is there's considerable opportunities, we've said here. Early in 2022 here, we're looking to commence the procurement of a new framework for new bus vehicles, coaches, buses and minibuses. That's going to be a 5-year framework worth about 250 million. That will be of interest here in terms of, there's already Spanish suppliers supplying in terms of buses and coaches here. Also alongside that, there'll be new opportunities in terms of glider phase 2. The present glider electric tram coaches are provided by a Belgium operator, but again, that will be a procurement competition, and that again is going to be around 90 million. So there's ongoing work as well here, future ticketing, new fleets and new carriages. So going forward here, we do believe it's a good opportunity here to do more work with Spain. Just quickly, a video here at the end here, just to show you, what we've done. This has been marketed heavily with Belfast City Council as well, who have been very supportive, Department of International Trade and Invest NI. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
Weaver's Cross is about dynamic connectivity, connecting people with an exciting new place, connecting industrial heritage with innovation, connecting technology with environment, connecting Northern Ireland's economic vitality with the world, and connecting developers with a truly unequalled investment opportunity.
So hopefully that give you a flavour there of Weaver's Cross there, and Gemma and I are on the line here, so to pick up any questions later, Eva.
Thank you very much. We highly appreciate it. It's been fantastic, and I'm sure that there will be some questions addressed to you later. I'd now like to pass the floor to the next speaker, speaker number 4. We've got only 2 more speakers, and then we will have a session for questions and answers from the attendees. John McGuckian, partner at Two Guns, who's going to give us the legal perspective of doing business and investment in Northern Ireland. John, welcome.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you for the introduction and to my fellow panelists. Arguably the person most in need of some nice slides and a video is the lawyer, but you just have me today. So as mentioned, I'm a partner in the corporate team at Tunes, which is one of the largest Indigenous law firms in Northern Ireland. I would generally work across mergers and acquisitions, equity investments, general governance matters, and I have a keen interest and ability to assist inward investors when investing and establishing in Northern Ireland. My work would cut across a number of relevant areas, which include when foreign entities buy companies in Northern Ireland, or indeed buy companies based elsewhere which have operations in Northern Ireland. As mentioned by Steve, there are a number of Spanish-owned companies here. I also work when inward investors are setting up in Northern Ireland to avail of our very strong talent, a competitive cost base, and access to EU and UK. Steve mentioned the company Aflac earlier, which is a perfect example of a company that we engaged with. We assisted before they arrived in Northern Ireland, giving them a feel for the landscape, assisted them with their decision-making process, and we hope, while we certainly will not take any of the credit away from Invest Northern Ireland, we hope we explained and made it clear to them that this is an easy place to invest and work in. And we have subsequently helped them incorporate a company, employ people, help them with their immigration, their commercial contracts, take a lease at city keys, and numerous other matters. And the third limb of where we help that is relevant here is when foreign entities are working on projects in Northern Ireland. There are a number of construction-related examples which include FCC's construction of the Southwest Acute Hospital in Enniskillen, which during the process of arranging and organising that allowed me to spend some time in Madrid, very close to the Bernabeu, and thankfully take in a Real Madrid game. And we also worked on the Sacyr project of the successful A6 road project. I would generally echo what has been said before as regards Northern Ireland being a very straightforward place to arrive, establish, grow and thrive. Declaring a slight conflict of interest, I confirm that almost 10 years ago, I worked within Invest Northern Ireland for a year on secondment covering its legal function. And I believe, therefore, I'm well placed to confirm the level of support that, in particular, Invest Northern Ireland, but other agencies give to Indigenous Northern Irish companies growing and expanding, including to Spain, but also helping companies from other jurisdictions set up in Northern Ireland. As has been mentioned, some of the key reasons for people coming to Northern Ireland, and that are frequently reiterated by the inward investors we work with, include our very highly skilled workforce and talent, our advanced infrastructure and new investment projects such as that explained by Len just now in respect of Weaver's Cross, our competitive cost base. Northern Ireland has been deemed one of the most cost-efficient business environments in Europe on a number of occasions. We have strong access to markets, a business supportive environment, and a very developed legal system. At a high level, some of the services that we help parties with include incorporating companies and dealing with their constitutional arrangements, their general contractual needs across customers, suppliers, customer construction related documents, and also engaging with Invest Northern Ireland on the offer of their terms, which, as Steve has alluded to, cuts across a number of areas, including job support, research and development grants, and capital spend. We assist across the employment and immigration space, including assisting with employment contracts, employment policies and procedures, and from an immigration perspective, assisting with immigration and visa work for parties. From a real estate perspective, we help parties review, discuss leasing arrangements, and when they are investing here, to purchase property from a due diligence perspective. Other areas that are often relevant to inward investors include intellectual property considerations and protecting their own, and advising on data protection laws. Without going into the minutiae of the structures that parties generally use here, there are a number of ways in which parties arrive and set up in Northern Ireland. It can be by way of an incorporation of a limited company, or setting up a branch here or place of business. Parties often initially appoint agents or distributors in Northern Ireland. They establish businesses by means of joint venture, or, as mentioned, they acquire existing businesses or invest in existing businesses. And there are a number of Spanish-related examples of that, but we would certainly like to see more. The decision as regards the form of structure depends on a number of factors. As regards the intended activities in the UK, taxation, employment issues, but is generally an easy landscape to set up in. Incorporating a company is an extremely straightforward and quick process, and having been involved in a number of pan-European restructures, although biased, I believe it is the easiest place to set up a company, and a company can be incorporated with the correct details in less than 24 hours. Very usefully, as has been mentioned in the past, a company incorporated in Northern Ireland is recognised as a UK company and is completely free to trade throughout the UK without having to register separately in England, Wales or Scotland. It means that for the most part, laws relating to issues such as corporate governance and directors' duties are harmonised across the UK. Northern Ireland is part of the UK tax regime, which makes it easier for other operations. From touching briefly on an employment law perspective, Northern Ireland has implemented European legislation that gives basic rights to employees, and therefore these basic rights are similar to rights enjoyed by employees throughout the EU. While Northern Ireland has a small number of its unique own domestic laws based on legislation and decisions of our courts, these are easily explained by our employment team and easily adhered to. From a real estate perspective, which has featured in the previous speakers, the property costs in Northern Ireland compare extremely favourably with other regions in the UK and the Republic of Ireland. Prime office rents are among the lowest in Western Europe, and there are new, as has been shown, purpose-built, fitted-out office space with the costs very affordable within Northern Ireland. As we see inward investors invest and arrive in Northern Ireland, there is the full spectrum available for them. There is industrial estates for more manufacturing needs, which Invest Northern Ireland and other parties have large portfolios of. There is newly developed premises such as City Quays, as was mentioned, where Aflac took premises in 2020, and more recently Chichester House, where Rapid7, the US entity, took a lease earlier this year. And for companies seeking to dip their toe in the water in Northern Ireland and grow slowly, there are a number of very high spec and impressive temporary accommodation options where people can take a flexible approach, including Titanic Suites, Clockwise within the newly developed River House, Glandore, and the recently developed Urban HQ. Real estate investment has been touched on already, so I won't go into any great detail, but we have seen from a legal perspective, the office market is increasing. PwC's Merchant Square has been mentioned with a very successful sale to the Middle Eastern Fund. And we are finding that despite the move to more flexible remote working, there is significant occupier demand in the market, and rents, as has been mentioned, are very favourable compared to other jurisdictions. There are a number of infrastructure potential investments, such as Weaver Cross, that are bringing more external investment to Northern Ireland. As Simon mentioned, a further growth area in real estate terms is coming in the form of build to rent or co-living schemes, which are also known as multi-family schemes. There is an increasing demand for city centre living opportunities in Belfast, particularly for graduates from Ulster University and Queen's, coming out of the purpose-built student accommodation schemes, which have increased over the last number of years and have also brought external investment to Northern Ireland. As has been mentioned, one of the key points that is helping to drive Northern Ireland forward at this stage, along with the City Deal investments from the public sector, is the increasing engagement and smart thinking between the key stakeholders in Northern Ireland. Invest Northern Ireland, local authorities, other public sector bodies, the universities and the private sector are now working together in a considerably more coherent and organised manner to deliver positive investment and development opportunities for businesses and investors looking to move to Northern Ireland. Summarising, I've touched on some of the legal matters. It is a very easy place to set up and do business in, and from considerable experience of inward investors investing and setting up here, companies acquiring companies or investing in companies here, and parties entering into joint ventures and operational projects here, it is very much an accessible place to operate, and it is very firmly open for business. I'll pass back now to Eva, so thank you.
John, thank you very much for the clarity of your presentation. This legal perspective rounds up the presentations that we've heard before, and I'd now like to pass the floor to our last speaker, who is Kerry Beggs, is the head of contact centres at Santander UK. Santander UK has had this contact centre in Northern Ireland for 22 years, and we're going to hear the direct experience of this investment. Kerry, very welcome.
Thank you, Eva, and it's great to be here. You can hear me okay?
We can.
Great. So I want to share our experience as an employer, and I believe I represent all of our views, my peers, as business leaders across Northern Ireland. And as Eva said, I'm based in Belfast, but I also look after sites that are across the UK. And of course, initially as a business, if you're setting up location or an operation somewhere, there are three things that are really important. So the cost of that operation, being able to connect to both your customer and also to our customer base, and as well as the rest of our operations, and being able to access talented and brilliantly engaged workforce. And our Santander UK value being both an employer and supporting the Northern Ireland community with their banking requirements. We have a significant presence across the province with 21 branches for personal and business banking customers. And we also have a regional hub for Belfast that's based in Belfast and Derry for relationship management for our SME businesses. We provide a range of services for, including transactional banking, investment support, and we connect clients internationally. And just recently, we've had the pleasure of supporting a local business that's within the food industry who have just partnered with an American company, and we've helped them with the partnership, but also to support with the financing of £10 million to allow them to continue to expand. And with growth in this sector, we're really well placed to support our clients. Now, as an employer, as Eva said, we opened Belfast Mays Meadow back in 1999, and that was part of an expansion, adding to the sites that we already had that were in Glasgow and Bradford at the time. And we chose Belfast because of that prime city centre location with the lower costs, but also the easy connectivity for our colleagues. So our colleagues are able to use all those great transport links that's been mentioned earlier on, being able to get here from home really fairly quickly, either through the bus or on the train. And we can also connect easily with our UK mainland colleagues. And often I make a number of flights out from the two great airports that we have, and I can travel a few times a week, come home and sleep in my own bed, and I can actually get from one of our UK sites to another in much quicker than some of our colleagues can get from Glasgow to London on the train. And I think at the minute, whilst we know that there's a lot of focus on using technology like this, there's still an appetite and a value in that collaboration going forward. And we know that we are going to expect to continue to want to have that face-to-face connection with both our customers and our colleagues going forward. So having a regional hub is really very important for us. But importantly, it's our people in Northern Ireland that make it such an attractive place as an employer. And the pandemic has shown us that employers are no longer constrained by their recruitment choices. But we also know, I'm sure from your own experience, that not everybody wants to work from home. Although the Northern Ireland team have demonstrated a resilience and an appetite for home working, with over 80% of the team working from home, adapting really well and improving their own productivity. And over the years, Belfast has become home to a number of primary specialisms. We've chosen Belfast because of the skills, the behaviours and the attitudes, and the desire and passion that we see from our colleagues for their development means that we can easily adapt to changing customer and business requirements. And we've got specialisms in customer service, which can either be face-to-face, through social media and more recently chat. We have financial planning, mortgage advice and relationship management support. And we also have operational support such as resource planning, change and risk management. And I don't know whether you heard, but we top the charts when it comes to the GCSE results. So that might have been mentioned earlier. We're very proud of that fact. It does allow us to attract high quality candidates, but we also get colleagues that have degrees and diverse backgrounds, and that rich diversity really allows us to connect with all of our different customer segments that we've got. And there are common traits in the colleagues of Northern Ireland that align brilliantly with our Santander values. They're professional, yet we've got great personality. We get on brilliantly with our Spanish counterparts in our parent company because of our ability to be straight talking and that passion to make sure that we're continuing to move our business forward. And what we see from our colleagues here is that they speak up, they raise ideas, and they really get involved in the formation and the continued development of our business, bringing recommendations as well. And it's a very family orientated culture with a really strong work ethic. So our colleagues are really highly engaged, and we retain a high number of the team that progress through the various roles. I was actually one of those colleagues that joined in 1999 as customer service advisor. I chose employment over university, and I've progressed through those various different roles. And it's that type of career path that we see our colleagues in Northern Ireland that they adapt really well to. And as a result, we have higher than average engagement scores and even better retention. And of course, our customers love the service they receive from the Northern Ireland colleagues. There's a natural customer centricity where colleagues really want to do the right thing for the customer and they deliver on our promises. And that lends itself brilliantly to relationship management, particularly within the financial services. And that's why our Belfast team actually are been chosen to service our high net worth clients across the UK. And I would say our accent is highly rated as well, although I'm not sure if they always know whether we're Scottish or whether we're Northern Irish, but we don't mind. We like our accent. And then again, with the leadership and support of Invest NI, 3 years ago, we established a peer network, the contact centre network for Northern Ireland. And the ambition of that network was really to further raise the profile of the fantastic employment of our industry. And we have a diverse range of businesses and members as part of that network, many of which have international reach. And the passion and the dedication that we see to this, I think once again demonstrate the unique quality of Northern Ireland and the energy that we have behind our industry. And then just finally for me, I think from a post-pandemic perspective, we recognise the value of remote working, but we also recognise the value of having physical premises. And we've got to remain connected to our customers and our clients and have that collaboration space and those regional hubs. And with technology advancements becoming the core part of all of our businesses, it actually removes a lot of the easy, repetitive tasks. And so we're looking for a workforce that can adapt to that level of complexity, but that are still engaged and still want to continue to shape the business and support our customers. Thank you, Eva.
My pleasure to listen to your testimonial. We work very closely with Santander, is one of our patron members. Santander is perceived as an English financial institution, and we work very closely with them. It's been a fantastic presentation today because we've been able to listen to the voice of the Northern Irish government, of an organisation like the Belfast Chamber, then hear about one of the key projects at the moment, which is Weavers Cross, then the legal perspective from John, and finally your testimonial as a very solid and veteran investor in the area. I'd like to offer, I've already put a couple of messages on the chat, but I'd like to remind to all the attendees that there is an opportunity if you want for a few minutes for questions. If there are no questions, which in the chat I haven't seen any yet. Well, yes, I have seen one. Then after this, I'd like to introduce Emma Naismith, who represents Northern Irish, invest in Northern Ireland at the British Embassy in Madrid. So as I say, I invite people to make any questions through the chat, and I welcome Connors. Connor, good to see you through the chat. Thank you very much for the question. You're asking if it would be good to know if there are any early signs of Belfast, Northern Ireland being beneficiaries of post-COVID ways of working. Not sure who would like to pick up this question.
I can pick that up, Eva, if you want.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Connor. You know, I think the whole pandemic has thrown a complete spanner in the works, but I think credit must go to certainly our politicians in Northern Ireland who, you know, they get lambasted quite frequently, but you know, credit where credit's due. A number of years ago, they invested significantly in Northern Ireland in the broadband infrastructure throughout Northern Ireland, and that meant that whenever the pandemic struck and people had to work from home, the infrastructure was there to allow them to do that. And certainly, conversations that we've had with existing investors have said that in Northern Ireland was probably one of the best locations for them to be able to do that very fast when they looked at some of their operations, maybe in the Far East or in the Indian subcontinent. They weren't quite able to do that. And I think the example, and we've mentioned them a lot on this call, is Aflac as a recent large US investor into Northern Ireland. They actually had started their recruitment drive just before the pandemic struck, and they, which was obviously not an ideal time for a new investor. However, I think today they have almost 100 people working in the offices, most of whom they hired remotely, most of whom started working remotely. And actually, they have just in their new offices at City Keys, they opened those just before Christmas on a virtual opening ceremony. But one of the walls, they have painted the words resilient, reinventive, and adaptable. Because that is the experience that they have, the experience they have seen of the Northern Ireland workforce through this whole pandemic.
Yeah, you just got me writing down resilient, reinventive, and adaptable. I was so impressed by those three words. I think Simon Hamilton would like to say something.
Yes, I think, yeah, Steve has made some excellent points around that resilience that has been inherent because of those investments in our broadband network. Belfast has the second best ultra-fast broadband coverage of any UK city and is quickly getting towards the top spot. And that has been a huge benefit in growing that tech sector that we've all spoken about, but also injecting that resilience that Steve mentioned to allow people to adapt to working from home. I think the longer the restrictions have gone on, the more we have fallen in love again with being back into the office and the opportunity to spend time together. I think that those real estate opportunities that have been, because Belfast is going through this renaissance in terms of real estate and grade A office accommodation, I think that also provides a great opportunity for businesses to configure and set up their office space in the way that they want. So we're hearing a lot of our members are saying, yes, they're going to have hybrid working models, but the flexibility of their office accommodation to inject a lot more innovation and collaboration space, I think, is going to be quite key. And John mentioned a lot of that flexible workspace that we do have in the city. That's where we as an organisation operate from. An increasing number of businesses in Belfast are using places like Glandor that he mentioned, and Urban HQ. And again, I think there are, we are still in the middle of all of this and seeing how it pans out. But I think that Belfast is nicely positioned because of its size, because of that robustness that we get from our broadband, and because of that flexibility of our office space to do quite well in a post-COVID environment.
And if I may ask, how are you guys doing up in Northern Ireland with the vaccination campaign? Because I think there are two important things at the moment. One is technology and the other one is health. So how are you combining, now that we know that you have the second fastest broadband infrastructure in the country, what about vaccination?
I think we have about the second fastest vaccination program in the UK. About 3 in 5 adults have had 1 dose, and I think nearly 2 in 5 now have had a second dose. So we're going really well. We're going nearly as fast as the broadband.
Good. As I heard that your population was so young, I thought that you might be slightly more delayed, giving priority to people that are older. Right.
Yeah, just this week, Eva. Just on that, you're absolutely correct. We do have a young population, but just this week, certainly 35 to 39-year-olds were called for the vaccination. So we're starting to. Us older ones have had it for a few weeks, but our younger colleagues are now starting to get that. And I have to say, it's been a phenomenal effort from our health service in terms of rolling out the vaccinations. It's really good to see.
I really congratulate you all, and we are looking with real envy from Spain. I can assure you that we are not going as fast as you guys. Right. Are there any other questions from the attendees? If I don't see any other questions, I'd like to give the opportunity to say a few final words before we close this fantastic session to Emma Naismith, who runs the section at the British Embassy in Madrid to represent investment in Northern Ireland, and the regional DIT director in Northern Ireland, Bob. Sorry, I don't have Bob's surname. Emma, are you available? Bob, are you available to say a few final words and close the webinar with me?
Absolutely. I just wanted to thank everybody for their time today. There's been a lot of work and time gone into preparing those presentations, but I thought it was important. It's the first time we've done something of this nature, so I thought it was important that we give a good overview of the region. As the ambassador said, it's something that we see in the news every now and again, but not necessarily for the right reasons. So we're more than happy to take this opportunity just to raise the profile a little bit. We have had an office here in Madrid for 3.5 years, but I'm still only one person, Steve. So there's lots that we can still do. Very, very lucky to be physically in the embassy and to be able to rely on the support from other colleagues without within DIT ambassador as required. But we're always around. I did put my email address in the chat or via the chamber if anybody wants to get in touch afterwards to reach out to any of the speakers, find out any more information about opportunities, either trade or FDI, or the happy to speak to.
Emma, thank you very much. Are we giving a space to somebody else? Is the regional director from Northern Ireland speaking? The DIT regional director? No?
Hi, it's Bob Van Artsen here. Unfortunately, my colleague Neil, who runs a lot of DIT's work in Northern Ireland, can't be here with us today, so I'll be here in his stead. I run the regional investment team within DIT, and one of our responsibilities is very much to work and collaborate with colleagues in Northern Ireland, including InvestNI and Belfast City Council, to attract inward investors into the region. And I think very strongly, there's been some fantastic speakers today. We've seen a lot of phenomenal opportunities highlighted. And I think the Department of International Trade echoes many of the characteristics highlighted by the speakers we've seen talk today, and what makes Northern Ireland a very phenomenal place to invest. Now, it's clear that Northern Ireland is already a great place to do business, and it's certainly interesting that part of the UK will continue to have a land border with the rest of the European Union. And that's certainly a unique status that any forward-thinking business and investor can take advantage of. But yeah, beyond that physical border, Northern Ireland very much has the strong fundamentals and will continue to demonstrate the resilience that it has shown and an exciting future for its economy. So, mentioned vaccines and life sciences. My colleague Neil, we've been working on a number of life sciences projects to bring those forward to investors as well. There's a multitude of other projects that haven't been mentioned today that we also support. So much as Emma said, if there's anything the Department of International Trade can do to help build connections and introduce colleagues, absolutely, my colleague Neil McIver and I are here to help. And yes, thank you for what was a very informative and valuable session.
Bob, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to put a face to a name. Very pleased to meet you, and very pleased to welcome new opportunities to continue working together. Let me just say that from the British Chamber in Spain and from the British Chambers in many other countries, we are working very well with government in the UK, with the British Embassy in Spain, and with the different chambers in different regions in the UK. We are doing virtual trade missions. We are conducting virtual sessions like today, and we are able to continue doing business and attracting investment in spite of these difficult conditions. I think I'm going to be quoting Steve's words, which I make mine with his permission: resilient, reinventive, and adaptable. Congratulations to Northern Ireland for being such a land of opportunity, and looking forward to another session soon to give a bit of an update on how Weavers Cross and other projects are doing. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon.
Thank you.